Hello, everybody. I cannot believe this is the first time I'm talking to you all since July. Life got extremely busy and crazy, and I'm so sad that I haven't recorded anything and that you haven't heard from me and my mom, but you know what they say, better late than never. So here we are. And today I will have someone joining me later to have a really great conversation that I'm really excited for you all to hear, but for now it's just me. And I'm going to try my best to tie in what I'm about to say to what I'm going to talk about later with my amazing guest. And I hope you all enjoy. Thank you for listening to me once again. And as always, thank you for appreciating my voice and what I have to say. So without further ado, here we go. Today, I would love to talk about the art of words and the power that words have. And more specifically, I would love to talk about how your own words can help other people, and how sometimes that happens when you least expect it. So I've had some journey in finding my voice and speaking on a bunch of different topics. And throughout my own experience doing that, whether it be, talking about my experiences that I've had or just talking about things I believe in, I found that when you're just trying to talk about something that's in your heart and that you've gone through or that you want to bring light to, that is when you least expect anyone to be listening or taking away from it. And in my own life, one of the main things I want to talk about today is my experience talking about my eating disorder, my experience talking about what I went through and what I learned, and kind of the after effects of that. So for those of you who don't know this, about 10 years ago, I went through an eating disorder. And it sounds so crazy to say 10 years now because while it has been 10 years, this experience that I went through taught me so much about myself and my strength and my purpose that it just feels odd to say 10 years and that it's been a decade. But that is a story for another day. And for the sake of today, I want to talk about what that experience allowed me to do following, going through it. So as I said, I went through an eating disorder. I was around 14, 15 years old. And for about a year and a half, this experience and this thing I never experienced and lived through was just happening, and it was really unraveling and unwinding in front of me. And I didn't really even know what it was. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know why I was doing it, but it was just happening. And fortunately, I ended up on top of this. I really made the effort to recover and I healed from it and I began to heal from it. And still to this day, that's something I'm very lucky that I was able to do. Because for some people, that's not how it ends. And I just always want to stress that when I do talk about this. But about a year after, healing from it and recovering from it, something inside of me was telling me to speak about it. And something inside of me was saying, just talk about this, just share this experience you went through. And I think I went back and forth because I was young. I was about 15 years old. But, when you go through things and when you experience things, they're never the things you want to talk about. You want to share, the good things you've done and the achievements you had. And it's always, I think, harder to start talking about the things that you go through and that you've experienced. But after a bit of time of going back and forth, I just said, you know what? What do I have to lose from sharing my story? What do I have to lose from sharing this? And I just want to talk about this thing I experienced. So about a year later, it was coming to the year anniversary of, the day I started recovery. And I just made a simple, post on social media. And I just basically said, a year ago, I started recovering from an eating disorder. And a year ago, I had an eating disorder. And this is something I've never talked about, but here we go. And I think the response I got was not something I necessarily expected, but it's something that, in retrospect, I realize now was so important and so necessary to not only my own journey, but the journey of other people. And basically what had happened is I made that post, and little by little, year after year, post after post, people started reaching out to me. And it was people I knew for 10 years. It was people I knew from a friend of a friend. It was people my parents had known. It was people friends of friends had known. And they all just started telling me, this is something I've also gone through. And based on what they wanted to share, I learned a little bit about their journey. I learned a little bit about their specific experience and their, you know, personal experience. And it quickly made me realize that so much of what you experience, other people are experiencing. So I would hear things, I didn't want to come to terms with this, but you posting about your eating disorder made me realize I had a problem. I have never talked about it before, and you're the first person I'm telling. I had an eating disorder too, and I just want you to know that you're seen. These are the things I was hearing from people my age, from people 20 years older than me, from people younger than me. And it just started this whole experience beyond the eating disorder for myself. And it made me realize that the power of voice and the power of sharing experiences and sharing anything has a lot of positivity and has a lot of room for not only your own journey and your own experiences, but for the experiences of other people. And if my, speaking about my eating disorder allowed someone to finally get treatment or talk to their parents about what they're going through or post about it or tell other people about it, I through this net effect of what I was saying was making a mark in other people's journeys. And I think that that's such a beautiful part of using your words and speaking on things. And it's not to disvalue how hard it is to talk about the negative things in your life. And I don't even want to call them negative because they are dark, they are difficult, but they're not, there's light that could come from them. And I've seen a lot of the people that, reached out to me in the early days of me posting. I've seen a lot of them then go on and become really open about their struggles. And everyone should honestly do and obviously do what they feel comfortable with. But it's also been really amazing to see that then they can help other people. It just goes to show you how powerful words are. And it's a motto and it's kind of an experience that I've continued to use, whether that be talking about my mental health and things I go through, whether that be talking about things like grief or, struggles with food or struggles with your mental health. It's just been kind of an experience that I've continued to live through and experience, whether I be talking about something that one person can relate to or 100 people can relate to. It really stressed the power of words and the power of sharing what you can. And I think nowadays it's really incredible to see it happen on such a large scale. TikTok's a thing now. On Instagram now, if you're not a celebrity, you could still have hundreds of thousands of followers and a true following. And to watch this happen on that level has been amazing. To watch one person make a video talking about eating disorder and then go viral, or one person talk about mental health or the 1,001 things in between those two. And then watch hundreds of thousands of people relate to it and, utilize these people as resources and as support. It's just been amazing. And it's amazing to watch it on that scale. But I've also been super lucky to continue to watch this happen to people around me, as I stated earlier. And one specific example is something that I really want to talk about today, and that I'm so excited to talk about today, because I've watched my dad use his voice and use his words and create this amazing audience of people, and create this amazing support within a community and within other communities. And it's just been really incredible to watch. And I'm so excited to have my dad share his story and his experience with this. And I really hope you enjoy the conversation we're about to continue to have. And I really hope you enjoyed everything I just shared on my end. And as always, just want to thank everyone for holding the space for me to talk and share my thoughts and experiences with you all. So if you don't know my dad already, he's a phenomenal and great person in pretty much everything he does. And he's a very special person and is very special to a lot of people. So I'm very excited to have him here today to talk about this very specific experience that he's had with the power of words and, reaching communities and different people. And I'm just really excited for you to all meet him. So Dad, whenever you're ready.
Okay, Jenna. Well, thank you for that wonderful and very kind introduction.
Mom said the same exact thing.
Oh, well, we're together for 30-something years for a reason, right?
For a reason.
So, the power of words or the power of hope, right? It's something that's very important, and I think it's something that a lot of people, need nowadays. I think it resonates with almost everybody you talk to for one reason or another. So let's rewind the tape a little.
Yeah.
Go back about 10 years ago. So you were, and I know I'm really bad at ages, but you were
Yeah.
like 16. Frankie was 18. Peter was 17. Around that.
Yeah.
And you all had your own cell phone. So I'd start the day each day by just trying to get a feel for what was going on in our small little family dynamic. And once I knew sort of what the issue of the day was, I tried to put together some thoughts for the day.
Yeah.
Whatever it was. Someone not feeling good about themselves, someone not feeling good in a relationship, someone feeling defeated, someone feeling there's, not going to be a tomorrow, whatever it was, try to find quotes in just addressing this and text you guys that every morning.
Yeah.
So that was about 10 years ago, probably about 5 years ago, as my Facebook memories will serve me. I put it out there on Facebook, I think at your urging. So I think you had a vital role in both. I'm going to say both the Facebook and now sort of Two Thoughts for the Day 3.0, because we've gone through 1.0, the kids, 2.0 Facebook, and now during the pandemic, well, other than not having, much to do, although I was very busy working from home, I thought maybe perhaps there was a need for an additional audience to see these thoughts. And that would be, my few hundred contacts on LinkedIn, right? And I saw LinkedIn, I saw the platform especially during the pandemic, go from sort of a business formal, I am Frank Urolini and I'm a compliance officer, to much more empathetic and much more, mental health oriented, caring. Here's what you need to do. Here's what you need to think about.
Yeah.
So I thought about just, hey, let me toss my two thoughts out there and see what the reaction is.
Yeah.
And again, a lot of it's because of you. Early on, you said, well, Dad, these are good, maybe you guys were just tired of hearing them, but why don't you share these with others?
Yeah.
And because we're not the only kids that are going through it, maybe on Facebook, there would be, other parents that are going through something similar and so forth and so on.
And I think where it started with me even wanting to tell you to share it is that I would tell my friends, like, oh, look at this quote my dad sent me. Or I would screenshot it and I would send it to a group chat I was in, or I would show it to my friends, as I said, in high school or college. And they would joke, oh, can I get added to the family group chat? Or I remember you had a group chat with me and my best friend then after that, where you would then send them to us, So I think over time I said, I enjoy hearing these quotes, but then, this person would say, can you send them to me? Or that person would say, can you send them to me? And it just made sense for you to then, post them on Facebook and post them on LinkedIn after that. And the interesting thing I think about this, and this is what plays into kind of what we've been saying about reaching audiences and reaching people when you least expect it, is that I think you took a break from Facebook, or you weren't on Facebook for Lent. I think we gave it up for Lent one year. And the overwhelming amount of people that said, please tell your dad to just come on to post the quotes. He doesn't have to stay on Facebook. Just tell him to come on, put the quotes up. I miss seeing them. And I think this similar thing happened, when you then decided to put them on LinkedIn. You kind of had this thought of, okay, let me get this out there. Let me, share this with other people. But the response that you had, from what I've seen, either on Facebook or on LinkedIn, has been overwhelming. And I would think something you wouldn't have expected to get to that level of, engagement and support. So.
Yeah. It's pretty overwhelming, to tell you the truth. I get a little embarrassed when I speak to people, I in meetings, on phone calls, people reach out, they start the conversation by saying, just going to go a little off topic here, but I really enjoy your two thoughts for the day. I don't put it out there for any other reason. I'm not going to. It's not my point of fame, and it's not something I need, internally to make myself feel good or try to justify, all of my connections on LinkedIn. So I really don't know how to react to it. But what I can tell you is, I've had a number of sort of responses, follow-ups, words of thanks, coming from a really, really
Diverse.
diverse, but maybe
Yeah.
diverse is the wrong word, but
Yeah.
diverse segment of business,
Yeah.
from CEOs to very, 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 very senior people in my company,
Yeah.
to people that I've met maybe once or twice through our global footprint at the bank I work for, to just strangers,
Yeah.
right, that have been able to access it. And I'll tell you, a lot of them see this as a sort of a daily ritual themselves.
Yeah.
I have one person. I'll just give you a few examples. I have one person who reached out and said that they look for this every morning. He and his wife actually lost their son at 17 to cancer, and he sees this as sort of a little thought provoking first thing in the morning. Helps him to put life in perspective. And again, it's not every thought that I put out that resonates with everyone, but what I do find is most thoughts resonate with someone.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's important. I see that on Facebook as well. Again, I don't want Facebook fame. I don't want to be an Insta star or anything like that. But what I do see is that people, it's all about the power of the word, like you said,
Yeah.
just putting it out there. Last Friday, I had a call with my colleague in Canada. He starts the conversation, and it was a half an hour. We only had a half an hour on both of our schedules. We spoke for 27 minutes about the two thoughts, and then 3 minutes really quickly got through what we needed to. He's got young kids. He looks at them every day, these two thoughts, and a lot of times he cuts and pastes and sends them to his kids.
Yeah.
Because again, he likes to start his day with some thought, some inner reflection and some thought. So I'm surprised. Again, I'm a little embarrassed because I don't know what to say when people start the conversation
Yeah.
by saying thank you so much for putting it out there. I always try to
Yeah.
just deflect it and put it on you. Well, my daughter told me,
Yeah.
this used to be something. They don't want to hear that either.
Yeah.
So I guess I should just say thank you
Well,
for.
and I think that's the thing is that I talked about this earlier in my segment of it, where when I started talking about the eating disorder and everything that I was going through, it was just something inside me telling me to share it. It was something inside of me saying, you went through this experience, why not just share it? And it wasn't, oh, I want people to say, I'm sorry you went through that. It wasn't so I wanted to get famous for talking about this. As you said, you're not looking to do it for anything other than just sharing it. And I think that's a lot of what I've been saying about how the power of word is so powerful when you're just sharing something to share it, whether that be an experience or a quote or, anything else that you just want to share. I think that's when it's the most powerful. And that's when there's so much room for this profound impact to happen, when you're just sharing it to share it. And there's not really a motive behind why you are sharing it. And I think you should be proud that something you just wanted to share has had this effect. And I could see what you mean when you say, you feel embarrassed or you feel this or that. But I think beyond that, there's a deeper, thing happening here. On LinkedIn and the workplace, and things are changing with COVID and humanity and empathy. And you're just adding to that. And you're adding to that where people could put a face to the name, which is great. And I was saying earlier in my own segment how it's so nice to see, these people you see on TikTok, like that Scottish man who would always have the quotes, or when I see people talk about eating disorders, it's amazing to see it on that scale. And it's amazing to see people post these videos and then hundreds of thousands of people are saying, I go through the same thing. But it's also amazing to see it on this level. And there's something to be said when it's people from your own community or communities beyond that are being impacted. And I think what you said about who's reaching out to you, whether it be CEOs or really senior people or people you've worked with and known for 20 years, the similar thing happened to me when I would start talking about different things. It would be people in your age that were coming to me about eating disorders.
Right.
It would be people I knew for 12 years. It would be people I just met through a friend of a friend.
Right.
So it just goes to show you, it's never who you expect, but it's always who really needed you to be saying these things and sharing these things.
And I think the word now more than ever is important. Just the word, just to say it.
Yeah.
The firm I work for is very, very in tune with mental health. And there's always especially during the pandemic, there's always been sort of a firm-wide top-down approach to reach out, stay connected, connect with anyone, in your group you can. We actually had a CEO challenge of trying to connect with 5 or more people that you normally never talk to and just see how they're doing. I'll read you what someone wrote to me last week, which was kind of thought-provoking myself.
Yeah.
She said, "Thank you, Frank, for sharing each day. You profit more when you give it where it matters most, your spirit." It's just a really nice,
It is.
it's nice to know that the words are needed.
Yeah.
And that they're that they're looked at again individually. Everybody is carrying something. There's sometimes all they need to know, or sometimes all we all need to know, is there's hope, right? There's always hope.
Yeah.
And one other thing I'll let you know is when I look at sort of the analytics of each post
On LinkedIn,
on LinkedIn, they're actually, what's pretty amazing to me is on any given day, these posts are looked at, by, New York, people in New York, Chicago, California, right?
Yeah.
Those are big areas of my connections. They're a larger footprint of our company as a whole. But not only that, then there is a very large, I don't want to use the word following, but a very large percentage of people in the UK.
Yeah.
Another very large group in India, New Zealand. It basically bounces all over the place.
Yeah.
Italy. Now these are places that I have some connections through our business, but more every day I see sort of a different group come in or a different region come in. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, you're getting to watch exactly who it's reaching right in front of your eyes and see that change from day to day or based on different things. And I really just think it's amazing, as we said, this impact that you can have and just how you've been able to just do it because you wanted to share it. And I said this a lot about talking about mental health or eating disorders or anything and everything in between, that is that as much as you're giving to these people and you're allowing them to see these quotes and be motivated on your terms and in your side of this, you're also seeing that you're being motivated from these things to read them and take them with you, and so are other people. And we all, as you said, just need this, and it's the same thing when you talk about X, Y, and Z. You talk to one person and you say, "Oh, I went through this," and they say, "Oh, me too," and you're like, "Oh, okay, that's amazing. Here's this shared experience we go through that we both live through and that now we can talk to each other about." And it's the same thing with these quotes. You like to see them every day to have that little bit of motivation or inspiration, and so do other people. And everyone needs that.
I agree. I think what's funny is, I usually do this on the train, right? So that's I don't know, a few minutes before 6, and by 6:30 or 7:00 or 7:30 when I pull into Grand Central, there's already about 500 views.
Yeah.
So people really do like to start their day this way, and to me it's I guess the most gratifying part is I'm only trying to do my part.
Yeah.
I'm only trying to spread positivity and to spread a little bit of hope. I don't do it for any other reason.
Yeah.
It's not like I have a Two Thoughts sponsor or I'm not looking for any of that kind of stuff. The sponsor of this.
We are not looking for sponsors.
The sponsor of this is just, my heart,
Your
right?
heart, yeah.
And that's who sponsors this. And it's just really just, hey, you're not alone.
Yeah.
No one's alone. If you think you're the only one going through something, you're wrong because chances are people are going through it, have gone through it, or will go through it, right? So it helps them on each step of the way.
Yeah, and as we said, you see this so much now happening on these bigger levels. And it even on these bigger levels when it's people who then get hundreds of thousands of followers from this, or they get these massive followings or brand deals, it starts most of the time with people just putting things out there to put them out there, on TikTok, on Instagram. Why not, do this video talking about this topic, because let's just talk about it. And then these people go viral and they get these large audiences and these brand partnerships. And it's incredible to see it on that level, but you always forget that it started just by putting something out there.
Right.
And what do you lose by putting something out there? And I was saying earlier how, it's not meant to negate the idea that these things are hard to talk about. And maybe, quotes aren't as hard to talk about as, this or that. But putting that out there was still something that was a little bit maybe uncomfortable in the beginning or this or that, because you don't know how people are going to react. You're putting it out there just to put it out there.
Right.
But you never know, will people think this and will people think that?
So it's the negative thoughts,
Yeah.
imposter syndrome, right?
Yeah.
Like if I put this out there, what are people going to think?
What are
like,
people going to think?
Who do you think you
exactly
effing are putting
Yeah.
this out there, right? Now,
Yeah.
now you have your PhD in
Yeah.
mental health.
Yeah.
Not really.
Yeah.
But a lot of it goes into that,
Yeah.
right? A lot of swirls
Yeah.
through my head. Like last week or the week before, someone very senior in the company said to me, and why aren't these posted on our intranet every day?
Yeah.
And I was like, no way.
Too far.
No way, too far.
But and that's the other thing, right?
I crawl up in a little ball in the corner. So I don't want that kind of light directed at me. This is outward light, right? I don't want to do anything.
And that's the other thing, is that I said before, and I'll always say, it is hard. You take a risk by posting this. It is uncomfortable, but you should just do it if you're comfortable. But also in saying that, it should be at that point, after you say it, just to say it and put it out there. And maybe you get this little bit of following, or people like when you talk about these things. It always has to be what you want. You always have to share things, even when you're just putting them out there to put them out there. Once it, things pick up and you get an audience, as I was saying, you have to still be doing it for you. So this, where you're doing the quotes now and where you've gotten with it now, is where you like to be with this, and I think that's important too. And you bring up a really good point in that it always still has to be what you want to be sharing and how you want to be sharing it. Because if you do something just to do it after that, and after having, what happened, then it's, it just still always needs to be about you. Long story short. And I think that's a good point.
It is. That's a really good point. Although, I feel kind of obligated now.
Yeah.
Because I know I've had those discussions with people, what it means to them.
Yeah.
What it means to them to read this.
Yeah.
What it means to the people that they share it with, right? So this is like this exponential type of magnification of the word, right? I'm putting it out there. Somebody else's, and then somebody else's.
Yeah.
I don't know how far the reach is,
Yeah.
right? Or how many people want to see this or need to see this or look forward to seeing this. Yeah. It's actually part of people's routines now, daily, right? Like whatever point in the day they need that, or their children need that, or they're passing along to others. It's now been ingrained in the routine, right? And that's... It's pretty it's intense. It's intense, and it's a little humbling. Again, all it is the word. All I'm trying to do is just, put out a word of hope or understanding, right?
Yeah. And I think in saying, like, it always needs to be what you want it to be, and it always needs to be how you want it to be when you are putting something out there, it also is a good thing to always realize, like, you could also stop or change this whenever you wanted to. Like, yeah, maybe it is getting, you think, okay, well, this person reads it every day and they share it with this person. What if one day I just stop? But that always has to be at the core of it too. Like, one day if you did wake up and you didn't want to do the quotes anymore, maybe you wanted to do this. Maybe you wanted to publish a book of the quotes. You know what I mean? Maybe you wanted to change the format that you're posting the quotes, and that's okay too. So I think it always makes you think that, as good as this is and as good as these things are to talk about these things and post them and get them out there, it also does, as I said before, need to be about what you want and what you want to do. And, I think it's always a balance of, this is a good thing, I like doing this, but, if I lost my computers tomorrow and I didn't have power for 2 weeks starting tomorrow, would it be okay if I couldn't post these? And, would it be okay if I couldn't talk about this thing? And I think that's the interesting part of social media, and, this whole platform's about social media and the information that's always on social media. And I think it's a good thing to think about, the fact that your mission in life and what you're trying to spread and work on can always change. And I think it's just really interesting how these things happen when we just put them out there. But over time, we start to talk about different things, and we start to change the way we talk about things. And I know for myself, I had this impact when I started talking about my eating disorder 10 years ago, and it's changed a lot. How I talk about it, how frequently I talk about it,
Yep.
the message that I have when I do talk about it. So I think that's important too, to always remember that. And this has been a great conversation.
Hey.
And I would love if you could send us out with the 2 thoughts of the day for today, if you don't mind.
So the 2 thoughts of today, you put me on the spot.
I know,
here.
I was just going to say I put you on the spot.
Let's go.
I was going to tell you to pull it up before we started
Let's
talking,
go
and I
back to
forgot.
the 2 thoughts for today. All right, so the 2 thoughts for today are: you cannot protect yourself from sadness without protecting yourself from happiness. And that was from Jonathan Foyer. And then one from Mother Teresa: not all of us could do great things, but we could do small things with great love.
Amen to that.
Those are my 2 thoughts for today.
Amen to that. Well, thank you very much, Dad. This has been a great conversation, and it's always, you always give me something to think about when I talk to you. So I'm always thankful for that, and I appreciate your time.
Well, thanks for listening, and thanks for the invite. And I'll stop by the podcast studio whenever you want me to.
Yeah, it would be great.
All right.
Okay.
All right, great.